Hi, welcome to Matthew Explores, and this is History in a Pint, and today we are at the Victoria Hotel in Latimer Road, Eastbourne. So let's go find some history. Our first destination before we go and find that pint is 146 Latimer Road, now a residential block of flats, though this was the site of the Eastbourne Sanitary Steam Laundry, established in the late Victorian era. The steam-powered laundry operated to provide commercial services to local hotels, businesses and some of the larger houses from Meads. It used the latest technology with steam rollers, presses and wash tubs. The business was located in an area that was the hub of the laundry industry, and the site now, although redeveloped, is a link to Eastbourne's industrial and social past. So on to our next destination, and this is the Redoubt Fortress. Located a few hundred metres from the Victoria pub on the seafront. The Redoubt Fortress, as we walk along the promenade, we can see just behind the Ferris wheel is the fortress that was built between 1805 and 1810, and it was built due to a fear of Napoleon's invasion. Prime Minister William Pitt agreed that a chain of Martello towers and fortresses like this should be built for the defence of the coast, where the French were most likely to attack. World War I witnessed the redoubt being used to house up to 350 troops, and the military police used it as a temporary detention centre and jail. World War II saw it being requisitioned and used to defend Britain from V1 flying bombs, with anti-aircraft artillery briefly being installed in 1944. Also, prior to the D-Day landings, Canadian troops were stationed here. In peacetime, the fortress had more leisure and educational purposes. In 1957, the site was the home to the Model Village and Aquarium, though the Model Village closed in the 60s due to vandalism, and in 1996 the aquarium shut its doors. Since 1977, the fortress has also served as a military museum and holds items including the Victoria Cross. However, it is currently closed due to significant work being required for safety reasons. Although in the recent months it has been in the paper that they are going to open it for special days with the hope of reopening it on a permanent basis. So we will have to wait and see what happens there. The structure is Grade 2 listed, and the investment in this property is well deserved to keep our England and Eastbourne's heritage alive. That's all for the Redoubt. So we are heading off to our next location, and here we are outside the Langham Hotel. We're not here for the hotel, but we're here for the bathing machine, and this is something that you will only see during the summer months. It's put away for protection in the winter. Here you can see a very rare example of a Victorian bathing machine refurbished in 2018. This is apparently one of only 2 surviving machines that once lined the beaches around the UK. Originally popularised in Kent, these mobile changing rooms allowed for modesty and the separation of sexes that was wanted during the Victorian era. One would have adorned the appropriate attire and once dressed for a dip in the bracing cold waters of the British seaside. The occupants and the hut were pulled into the sea by a horse to their chosen depth, thus protecting modesty and the showing of too much flesh. Their use declined after World War I as social norms changed, but if you're interested and like to see this example, as I say, it is outside the Langham Hotel during the summer months. Right, on to our next location. So here we are back on Latimer Road. We're approaching the end of Latimer Road where the pub is, but before we get there we are at 58 Latimer Road, and for those of you who've watched some of my previous videos you'll probably know this building. So just across the road from the Victoria pub is the old Latimer Road Police Station, opening in 1895 and becoming unused in the 1930s as policing moved towards using a network of police boxes. The police station was located here and was connected to the police houses alongside. The reason for its location was the area was a bit of a den of debauchery. Social problems in the area meant the police wanted a permanent presence, and it's now converted into flats. Converted in the 1960s, it also functioned as a driving test centre. However, I'm not going to go too much into the history of this building. There is a whole video of mine on this, and I'll link it in the description. Okay, on to our next location. Just across the road, we are at Christchurch. Just off the side street here, we find Christchurch. This is the church for the parish, Christchurch. Built between 1858 and 1859, it was designed by the Gothic Revival architect Benjamin Ferry. Constructed to provide for growing spiritual needs after the railways arrived in Eastbourne. And it was consecrated on the 29th of July by the Bishop of Chichester. 1922 saw the addition of the Memorial Chapel in memory of World War I. And one notable worshipper who regularly attended was the author Lewis Carroll, who helped out at the Sunday school. Carroll also once preached at the church, and it is said that on occasions he rented a pew solely for the use of his top hat. During the 20th and 21st century, the church underwent various upgrades, and in 1971 it was granted Grade 2 listed status for being an example of fine Gothic architecture. Well worth a visit. Okay, on to our penultimate location, and we're back on Latimer Road, right next to the Victoria pub. However, before we go there, we are looking at the building next door, and this was originally the Ocean Wave Beer House, or the Ocean Wave Pub. This was number 5 to 6 Tower Place, while the Victoria next door was number 4 Tower Place, although I have seen it called Tower Street and Tower Place. The area though being redeveloped in the 1960s, the building of a block of flats changed this area, and both pubs gained new addresses on Latimer Road. Now the Ocean Wave is also a block of flats, and I never got to attend, and I can't find the year it pulled its last points, but if you do know, why not drop it in the comments. But onwards, we are at the Vic, but before we go inside for that pint, just a little bit of history about the Victoria. Victoria Hotel, located at 27 Latimer Road, established in 1851 and directly opposite the already discussed and now defunct Ocean Wave. The Vic is a welcoming local community pub that has managed to retain some of its original features, including its curved bars, built by Sanders and Son of London, and the pub has a small beer garden, dog-friendly atmosphere, and in the back room, pool table, and an opportunity to play a local pub game that comes from Sussex, primarily from Lewis, and that's the game of Toad in the Hole, played on this cabinet with these coins as you can see in the photo. This photo, taken in 1913, shows the Eastbourne Butchers race, and it also shows that both the Vic and the Ocean Wave open for business on that day. The Vic, or Victoria Hotel, whichever you wish to call it, is owned by Harvey's Breweries of Lewis, and this is a pub I'd highly recommend a visit to as a local or tourist. Well, that's it. That's the end of it. All that remains is for us to have our pint, and today I'm having a pint of Harvey's Pals Pale, and Harveys have described it as a dive into the purest South Downs spring water with a taste of UK and New Zealand hops. Well, I can recommend it, and so until next time, it's cheers and bye for now. See you in the next episode of History in the Pint.